Yes, you read the title of the video correctly. Geralt, at the time, rode with the Wild Hunt, the same group that are hunting down Ciri and make up most of the villains of The Witcher 3. There is a chance that you might have missed this if you've only played the third Witcher game, because there are surprisingly few references to it in the third game. The fact that Geralt rode with the Hunt was revealed in The Witcher 2, and was a pretty big deal when it was revealed. But how and why did Geralt end up as a part of the Hunt? To understand how Geralt got there, we first have to go back to the last few pages of the book. At the end of Lady of the Lake, Geralt and Yennefer were placed in a boat and transported by Ciri to a magical place, their fates unknown. As time passed, they slowly healed, and after all those years they spent apart, they were finally together for a bit. They lived on their island with a small house and an orchard. They enjoyed themselves and took a well-earned break. However, at some point, a few unexpected visitors arrived. The Wild Hunt. Geralt tried to cut them down, but there were too many, and in the chaos they had kidnapped Yennefer and taken her with them. With the island trampled and burned down, along with his lover having been kidnapped, Geralt decided it was time to return to reality, to once again become a witcher, and return on the path to find her once again. For about 6 months, Geralt tracked the Wild Hunt through the Northern Realms, to find them and to take back Yennefer. The chase seemed almost pointless, with no end in sight, until his fate changed after he had entered Engren. Here, he came across a very large witcher, who had been hit by a lizard's tail. As the Witcher code kind of demands, Geralt came to his aid. The Witcher survived, due to Geralt intervening. You might know this Witcher as Letho of Galad. Letho and Geralt made contact with 2 other Viper Witchers, Sereth and Aux. The Witchers of the Viper School had a lot of information about the Wild Hunt, and thus they knew a bit more than Geralt, and they knew where to go to intercept them. On the winter solstice, in 1270, Geralt and his fellow Witchers faced off against the Wild Hunt at the Hanged Man's Tree in Nilfgaard, somewhere in the Empire, we don't know exactly where. Here, at the Hanged Man's Tree, the Wild Hunt each year selects their prisoners from all those that they have taken over the past few months. Geralt and his fellow Witchers jumped into action, and to their surprise, they could kill these so-called specters. But even though they tried to fight through them, there were just too many of them, and there was only one way out. Geralt made a deal with Eredin, his soul for Yennefer's. Eredin accepted, let Yennefer go, and Geralt became part of the Wild Hunt. The reason Eredin wanted to have Yennefer and Geralt ride with him was to lure in Ciri, so that he could finally get his hands on her and use her powers for his own ends and goals. In the almost a year that Yennefer was captured by the Wild Hunt, Ciri never seems to have made an attempt to save her. Because of this, Eredin gladly accepted Geralt's offer, as he thought Ciri might come for him. Geralt rode with the Wild Hunt for an unknown amount of time, and I've got to say, some of the inconsistencies of the timeline in the Witcher games really make this hard to determine, as Geralt was taken around halfway through December in 1270 and was found before the end of the year, within like 10 or 20 days, in near Kaer Morhen by his fellow Witchers. This could either mean that Geralt only spent about 1 to 2 weeks with the Wild Hunt, or that he spent longer with them and just ended up in Kaer Morhen due to Ciri jumping in between time. But what did Geralt do in his time with the Wild Hunt? We actually know barely anything about what he did during that time, due to the loss of his memory. Everything became a blur to him, All that he remembered was him rushing forward, along with the wild hunt, only to suddenly end up in Kaer Morhen. At least, that is what Geralt says in The Witcher 3, in the conversation between him and Yennefer. Presumably, Geralt only spent a few days with them. In those days, he got to meet certain members of the hunt like Imlerith. He also visited Tir na Lia, the Un-El homeworld. But in contrast to what many believe, it seems like Geralt was only with the hunt for a very short time, unless of course Ciri really did jump back with him in time. Because Geralt did escape with some help. Eredin's predictions were right. Ciri would come to get Geralt. However, even though Geralt was used as bait for her, as a trap, Ciri managed to take Geralt and get out without what seems to have been much trouble. In The Witcher 3, it is said that she fought to get Geralt back, in the same place where the final battle in The Witcher 1 takes place, and this is the place that you visit again in The Witcher 3 while jumping between worlds. She dropped Geralt off near Kaer Morhen, for she knew that other Witchers could help him there. As a side effect of his time with the Wild Hunt, Geralt had lost his memories, not remembering anyone or anything. His famous amnesia would finally disappear in The Witcher 2. However, the time he had with the hunt seemed to stay a blurry memory for Geralt, as he can barely recall what happened at the time. We really barely know anything about the time when Geralt rode with the Wild Hunt. These few days, or possibly weeks, or maybe even a year, could have been filled with Geralt fighting as one of the hunt, kidnapping children to be taken as slaves. Or he could just have been riding with them without ever killing or for them, or doing anything special. We just don't really know. A lot of the information about this is not very well explained, along with the fact that, as I mentioned a number of times in this video already, the fact that Ciri can jump between time and space makes it difficult to determine in which time Geralt jumped from back to when he ended up in Kaer Morhen. For if the time Geralt spent with the Wild Hunt relates to the amount of time he was gone, that would make it seem like Geralt quite possibly only spent a very short amount of time with them, way less than you would expect. So, what do you think happened at this time? How long did Geralt really spend for the Wild Hunt? Did he kill for them? Did he hunt with them? Till the next video. Bye.